alternative experience.
The alternative experience.
The alternative experience.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Nikki Jo Edyvane here. So today's show is, can grounding to the earth really heal you? Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the science says. So one of the simplest techniques that I use in my coaching program is grounding. And while it only makes up a very minuscule amount of the course itself, its genuine positive benefits cannot be understated. I say it all the time, just because it's simple, it does not mean it's not highly effective. And when it comes to grounding, this one truly is right up there for its effort to results ratio. It's truly remarkable. For some reason, as humans, we seem to feel that if we have a big problem, it needs a big solution, whereas sometimes it really isn't the case. So for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, grounding, or as some people call it, earthing, is simply the act of connecting your bare skin, such as the soles of your feet, with the earth's natural surface. So not concrete, earth, if we can. Now, that's something that we would have done naturally for hours upon hours back in our ancestral days. Not only did many of our ancestors go barefoot, they would have also slept directly on the earth's surface too. So whether you've heard about grounding or not, in this particular sort of podcast, I'm going to tell you why you should be doing it and why you should start yesterday. It really is that effective. So to understand how grounding works and why it's so highly effective, it's really important for you to understand three things. The first thing is that our bodies, although completely biological, they are actually electrical systems. Our hearts are electrical, our brains are electrical, our entire bodies operate on an electrical frequency. The second thing to understand, this is going to blow your mind, is we actually do live inside an enormous battery. Let me explain. So the ionosphere, which is a layer of our atmosphere around about 60 miles up, is ionized by the sun. And this basically means that the rays of the sun are so powerful that they split the molecules in our ionosphere into positive charge and negative charge. Now, the negative charge is transferred to the Earth's surface, mainly via lightning. And as such, the Earth is negatively charged at around 20 millivolts. The positive charge remains 60 miles up in that ionosphere. The ionosphere is actually currently being messed around with by certain philanthropists, but that's for another article. But yeah, the problems of us in this kind of sort of living arrangement, the problems actually living in this battery arise when we don't have a negative charge ourselves. And most of us are unaware that we need grounding to achieve this. In fact, we need grounding just as much as we need air and sunshine. The design and release of rubber-soled shoes was quite literally one of the worst things that ever happened to human health. And this is an established fact. We know this. Again, not going to go conspiratorial. Why we don't sort of make a bigger thing about it is for you to decide. But the third thing to understand before we can carry on is almost all illness and disease is actually the result of chronic, unchecked inflammation. So arthritis, cancer, in fact, most health disorders are a result of repetitive injury and chronic, unaddressed stress and inflammation. Now, this inflammation, if not managed, will eventually manifest into illness, and it does. So when our body connects to the negative charge of the earth, it displays a number of positive actions. But what's more amazing is these actions are not only measurable, but they're often instantaneous. It doesn't take weeks and weeks to see these benefits. So what does the scientific research say? I know that most people out there, they don't want to hear woo-woo. They want to see what studies confirm. So in fact, it says a hell of a lot. And in fact, to include it all here would require a book in itself. So watch this space. But for now, I've surmised some of the most mind-blowing benefits that have been recorded. And I thought the best way to present this information would be based on the duration of time carrying out the practice from shortest through to longest. And this is going to give you a clear picture on just how beneficial this practice truly is, as well as how these benefits kind of compound as your practice time increases. it certainly poses some legitimate questions about our current approach to health and longevity. And, as I say, those aforementioned rubber-soled shoes that I now class as the devil. So, for example, there's now over 20 peer-reviewed studies showing that when you connect to the earth, your body instantly begins to reverse inflammation. It's also been proven to calm the body, lower blood viscosity, and optimize your body for healing. Other observable benefits include improved immune function, digestion, sleep, blood circulation, recovery from injury, exercise recovery, normalization of hormonal rhythms, especially the stress hormone cortisol, reduced inflammation, and reduced stress. And how does it achieve this seemingly miraculous set of benefits? Well, when we look at the scientific literature, if you just base it on connecting for just a few seconds per day, the research observed that, number one, muscle tension begins to drop, and this was observable and visible on an electromyogram. Not only was it measurable, but it was also instantaneous. This happened as soon as the sort of grounding started. Number two, the ambient voltage shifts across your entire body back to its natural levels. Number three, EEG brain waves change along with rapid observable changes to skin conductance. So to surmise, when grounding for just a few seconds a day, we see instant positive changes to muscle, skin, and brain, as well as levels of pain and inflammation. Now, when you sustain grounding for a few minutes a day, the studies show that positive effects begin to go a lot deeper. Now, at this stage, we begin to see positive impacts on your organ function, your vasculature system, and your blood viscosity. They all improve considerably. What does that mean? Okay, well, in English, it basically means for those of you that ground for just a few minutes each day, you're going to see it affect your circulatory function, as well as each of the end organs connected to that circulatory system. Due to this increase in circulatory function, improved blood viscosity, and the resulting increased respiratory rate, your levels of oxygenation at a cellular level are greatly improved. And that goes further to stabilize your blood glucose. So just in a few minutes a day, you're starting to see changes at what we call the metabolic level. So hopefully you're starting to see how this one minor habit really does compound over time to positively affect your entire body. So let's look at what the studies say when grounding for a few hours at a time. Okay, so in just one night, 8 hours sleep to be precise, using things like grounding sheets or sleeping on the floor, grounding changes your markers for osteoporosis. So now it's going so deep that it's affecting your bones. You're changing your metabolic panel, and that's optimizing minerals and electrolytes such as calcium, potassium, phosphorus, magnesium, and iron. And all of this in just one night's sleep. It doesn't only affect your bones and metabolites, it also boosts your thyroid function. So when you look at these studies over just a few days, let's say you're using a grounding sheet in your bed, and you start wearing grounding socks or grounding shoes, which you can get throughout the day, we're seeing an increase in resilience. Now, that's your ability to manage stress both mentally and physically. They improve considerably. So one specific study, it looked at men lifting a heavy load. A stressful amount of weight. So researchers measured them ungrounded on day one, then grounded on days 2, 3, and 4 alongside a control group. Now, the results showed that they were able to meet the stressful demand, but more importantly, they displayed incrementally less stress, injury, and inflammatory markers. They also showed a clear and measurable improvement in their recovery. In short, they had less injury, less pain, and they recovered quicker simply by grounding. So after just a few days of grounding, you become more resilient, more adaptable, and you're able to recover from mental and physical stress with much greater efficiency. The implications this has on our ability to recover and our ability to optimize every system or function in our body is absolutely enormous. So while the longer term controlled studies are pretty rare at the moment, Researchers are already anticipating seeing anti-aging benefits as well as anti-cancer benefits. We don't have many specified control trials. However, we do see many of these markers in indigenous tribes, most of whom, as I'm sure you're aware, still go bare feet or wear clothing and shoes made from animal skins. They also often sleep directly on the Earth's surface, much like our ancestors would have. And there's a really interesting body of research on this subject spanning back to our ancestral days, which is full of incredible information. I will try and link it at the end of this podcast so you can see that in more detail. But back to my previous claim regarding chronic illness being unchecked inflammation. To some of you, this may seem like a stretch, so just let me elaborate quickly. While we naturally associate a lot of disease with aging, there are many examples around the world that defy these kind of assumptions. Now, often when we look at those aforementioned indigenous tribes such as the Maasai, they don't generally suffer from the same level of chronic illness or inflammation that we do in the developed West. It's not just kind of these anecdotal observations either. There are many highly regarded peer-reviewed studies associate the onset of most common illnesses and disease to repeat injury and chronic unaddressed stress or inflammation. Many cancers, many chronic diseases, arthritic changes, even dementia markers, heart attacks, diabetes, stroke, and even metabolic syndromes are also linked. And while this does often coincide with aging, it seems to be related to injury or inflammation caused by long-term stress, poor diet, even EMF exposure. But that's, again, a controversial subject that we won't cover in detail here. But simply by grounding every day, you really do have the potential to mitigate, prevent, and even reverse this from actually occurring in the first place. Now, here's the best bit. It's obviously free. So while it does seem beneficial to spend as much of your day grounded as you possibly can, you don't need to buy socks, you don't need to buy bed sheets. You can just start by spending as many hours as you possibly can with your feet or your body connected to the Earth's surface. So what better reason could there be to spend more time in nature? I think beach days, sitting down the park, even rainy days, get your feet out. I know people are like, oh, but it's wet and I'll get dirty feet. Who cares? Get those feet in the grass, connect to that earth. You really are going to feel the benefits. Now, I will attach sort of kind of a meta-analysis on NCIB, which is one of the, NCBI, which is one of the the health journals, just to go through a little bit of this. But there's also something which is a very well-known body of research by Nobel Prize winner Richard Feynman, and he actually mentioned something in his lectures on electromagnetism called the umbrella effect, the effect of Earth in the body. And Feynman said that when the body potential is the same as the Earth's electrical potential, and thus grounded, it becomes an extension of the Earth's gigantic electrical system. The Earth's potential thus becomes the working agent that cancels, reduces, or pushes away electrical fields from the body. The actual health benefits of this, again, are mentioned in that published paper, which I would recommend you read. But for the meantime, guys, just give it a go. Try it for, I'd say try it for a week, but try it for a month. I think if you're somebody that has arthritis, pain, any kind of acute or chronic illness, get out every day and spend 5 minutes minimum with your feet or your body in the Earth's surface, and I guarantee you will physically feel the difference. I feel it immediately myself. I broke my pelvis in 2007. I've had bad knees my entire adult life, and I swear by it. Thanks very much for tuning in, guys. If you could leave a comment, share this article, like, and if you haven't already, what are you up to? Subscribe to my podcast, subscribe to all of my social media. It'd be much appreciated. I do really appreciate the support. And let's get a conversation going, guys. This isn't supposed to be a one-way thing. I'm putting information out there. I'd love to hear your thoughts. In the meantime, thanks for listening, guys. Until next time, bye for now.